My name is Teresa Marchetti. I'm 29 years old. And the Tuesday night my aunt opened a family group chat to take a vote on whether I should be included in my grandmother's 80th birthday party was when I finally understood that the person doing the invisible work is never the person anyone thinks to protect. The chat notification came in at 8:54 p.m. I was at my kitchen table with my laptop open, cross-referencing the catering menu confirmation against the head count I had submitted to the venue 2 days earlier. The chat was called Grandma's 80th, family only. I was in it. I had created it, for months earlier, as the organizing thread for the event. My Aunt Rosaria had sent a message. It said, "I need to bring something up before we get further into the planning. All in favor of not inviting Teresa? She makes everything about herself and Grandma deserves a peaceful day." I counted 11 thumbs up emoji before I stopped counting. I put my phone face down on the table. I picked it up again. I took a screenshot of the thread, the chat name, the message, the 11 reactions, the timestamp. I did not forward it. I did not reply. I set the phone on the table beside my laptop and I looked at the catering confirmation open on my screen. The venue deposit of $2,200 was on my card. The florist retainer of $680 was on my card. The catering deposit, $1,950, paid 6 weeks ago when the caterer required it to hold the date, was on my card. My name was in the primary contact field for all 3 vendors. The party was in 11 days. What none of the 11 thumbs up emoji knew was that the account number attached to every vendor in that portal was mine, and that without my authorization, none of those bookings could be modified, transferred, or confirmed. I closed the laptop. I finished my tea. I went to bed. To understand what happened in the vendor portal and why it mattered, you need to understand how I came to be the person managing my grandmother's 80th birthday in the first place, and how that role fit into a longer pattern in my family that I had never fully named until that Tuesday night. My grandmother, Nana Ida, as we have always called her, is the gravitational center of a large and scattered extended family. She is the kind of woman who makes a room feel different when she walks into it, not through force of personality, but through a quality of attention she gives to people that makes them feel, genuinely, that they are the most important person she has spoken to that day. She has 6 children, 14 grandchildren, and a social network that includes neighbors, church friends, and former coworkers spanning 4 decades. Her birthday has always been the event the family organizes around, the annual gathering that pulls people in from other cities and gives the extended family a reason to be in the same room. For the past 6 years, I had been the one who organized it. This was not a role I applied for. It was a role that accumulated. The first year, I offered to help my Aunt Rosaria coordinate the restaurant reservation because I was the one living closest to my grandmother and I had a flexible work schedule at the time. The restaurant part went smoothly. The following year, Rosaria had a conflict and asked me to take the lead. I took the lead. By the 3rd year, the assumption had solidified without anyone stating it. Teresa handles the birthday. I am a project coordinator by profession. I have been one for 5 years, currently working for a mid-sized construction management firm where my job is to track deliverables, manage vendor relationships, and ensure that moving parts arrive at the right place at the right time. I am competent at this in the specific way that people are competent at work that mirrors a skill they would have had regardless of whether anyone paid them for it. Organization is not something I do. It is something I am. Nana Ida's birthdays had over 6 years grown. The first one I coordinated was a dinner for 22 at a neighborhood Italian restaurant, budget modest, planning minimal, and the result warm and simple in the way things are when they are made by someone who pays attention. The second added a cake from the bakery she had been going to since the 1980s. The third added a photo display that my cousin Marco's girlfriend helped me build from family photographs. By the 6th year, this year, the 80th, I was coordinating a Saturday afternoon event at a garden venue in the suburb where my grandmother had lived for 40 years, with catering for 61 guests, a florist doing table arrangements and a door piece, a photographer I had sourced and vetted, and a slideshow presentation I had been assembling since January from photographs family members had submitted. The total budget for the event was $8,400. I had been tracking it in a spreadsheet since February. Of that $8,400, I had personally fronted $4,830 in deposits and retainers across the three vendors, with the understanding, stated to Rosaria in a text exchange in March, that the family would contribute their share before the final payment dates. The family's share was $3,600. My contribution was $1,230, which was my portion of the per-head calculation plus a voluntary absorption of the coordination overhead that no one had offered to pay for and that I had not asked anyone to pay for. In March, when I texted Rosaria about the contribution timeline, she had said she would circulate it to the family. In April, I followed up. She said people were busy, but it would come together. In May, 3 weeks before the event, $900 had come in from 2 cousins and nothing else. The remaining $2,700 was outstanding. I had not raised this a third time. I had absorbed the question of the $2,700 into the background of everything else I was managing, the way I absorbed most things, quietly, efficiently, with the specific discipline of a person who has learned that raising problems creates friction and solving them creates peace, and who has not yet fully examined what that discipline is costing. Tuesday night was when I examined it. Rosaria's message arrived in a chat I had created, on an event I had been building for 4 months, with 11 reactions from people who were attending a party whose deposits I was holding. I lay in bed that night and thought about the vendor portal. The portal was a planning tool I used professionally and had started using for personal events because it was familiar and efficient. All 3 vendors, the venue, the florist, the caterer, had been added through my account. Their contracts listed my name. Their confirmation emails went to my address. The payment cards on file were mine. None of this had been strategic. I had done it because I was the one doing the work, and the person doing the work is the person the vendors interact with. It had simply never occurred to me to set it up any other way. What I understood, lying in bed at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday with a screenshot on my phone, was that the way I had set it up meant that the event could not proceed without my participation. Not as a guest, as the account holder. The vendors would not release, modify, or transfer any booking without authorization from the primary contact. The florist had already confirmed once this week. The caterer's final headcount was due Friday. The venue required the remaining balance, $2,600, to be paid by the following Monday, 8 days before the event. All of these obligations ran through me. I am going to be precise about what I decided that night because I think the precision matters. I did not decide to destroy the party. I decided to wait and see what happened next, and to stop performing an invisibility that had clearly not been earning me anything I needed. Wednesday morning, I went to work. I had a site coordination meeting at 8 a.m. and 2 vendor calls in the afternoon, and a deliverables review with my project manager, a methodical man named Stanton Birch, who had a way of identifying gaps in timelines before anyone else in the room had seen them. I focused on the work. I did not look at the family chat. At noon, my phone showed 3 missed calls, 2 from my cousin Gina, who had been in the chat and who was also my closest cousin, and 1 from a number I didn't recognize that turned out to be my mother's landline, which she almost never used. I called Gina back on my lunch break. "I need you to know," Gina said, before I had said anything past her name, that I did not put a thumbs up on that. I had checked. She was right. Her name was not among the 11. "I know," I said. "Zia Rosaria has lost her mind," Gina said. "She has a point of view," I said, which was not agreement but was precision, and Gina understood the difference. "What are you going to do?" Gina said. "I'm thinking about it," I said. I called my mother after lunch. She had heard about the chat from my Aunt Luciana, who was Rosaria's younger sister and who had not been in the original thread. My mother's voice had the careful quality it gets when she is trying to be a fair witness to something she finds difficult. She said she was sorry it had happened. She said Rosaria had strong feelings about the way things went at family events, and that it sometimes came out sideways. She did not say the text was wrong, which told me something, but she also called, which told me something else. I told my mother I was handling it. She said she trusted me. I thanked her and ended the call. Thursday, I did not contact any family member, and no family member contacted me except Gina, who sent a text saying she was on my side and asking if I needed anything. I said I appreciated it. Thursday evening, I logged into the vendor portal, and I reviewed every booking. The florist was confirmed to call Friday morning between 9 and 10 a.m. to finalize the arrangement list and confirm the pickup schedule. The caterer needed the final head count by Friday at 5 p.m. The venue balance was due Monday. I updated one thing in the portal. I removed Rosaria's phone number from the secondary contact field, where I had added it 6 weeks ago as a courtesy, so she could receive confirmation copies. She was no longer listed as a contact on any of the 3 accounts. Then I opened a new email, and I wrote to all 3 vendors. I told them I would be the sole point of contact for all communications through the event date, that any inquiries should be directed to me only, and that any requests to transfer or modify the bookings from other parties should be flagged to me before any action was taken. I sent the emails at 9:17 p.m. All 3 vendors confirmed receipt by the following morning. Friday came. I was at my desk at 8:45 a.m. At 9:12, my phone rang. It was the florist, a woman named Dina Pollock, who ran a small shop and whom I had worked with twice before for work events. She was calling to confirm the arrangement specifications and go over the pickup window. We confirmed everything in 11 minutes. She was efficient and warm and mentioned that the ranunculus I had requested for Nana's centerpiece were coming in beautifully. I thanked her and told her I would see her the following Saturday. At 9:31, 19 minutes after my call with Dina ended, my phone rang again. It was Rosaria. I let it ring. She left a voicemail. I listened to it at 10 a.m. Her voice in the voicemail had a quality I had not heard from her before, a tightness that was not quite anger and not quite distress but was somewhere between the two, the specific register of someone who has just discovered that a situation they believed they controlled is not actually theirs to control. She said she had called the florist to confirm some things and had been told that the account required authorization from the primary contact. She said she didn't understand the situation. She said she needed me to call her. I called her back at noon from my car in the parking garage because I wanted to be somewhere I could speak without being overheard. She answered on the first ring. "Teresa," she said. "Rosaria," I said. "The florist wouldn't talk to me," she said. "I know," I said. I updated the contact authorization on all 3 vendor accounts Tuesday night. All confirmations and modifications go through me. A pause. All 3. The venue, the florist, and the caterer. I said. All 3 deposits are on my card. All 3 accounts list me as the primary contact. That's been the case since February. Another pause. This one was longer. I heard something shift. A chair, I thought, or a hand moving across a table. "I didn't know the deposits were on your card," she said. "I know you didn't," I said. "Because I didn't raise it after April. I should have been clearer about the contribution timeline, and I wasn't, and I take responsibility for that." "Teresa." "Rosaria," I said, and I kept my voice even and clear, the same voice I use in a site meeting when a subcontractor is 3 days behind and I need them to understand the sequence without making them defensive. "I'm not calling to argue. I'm calling because you asked me to call. The deposits are mine. The vendor accounts are mine. The caterer needs the final head count today by 5 o'clock. The venue balance is due Monday. I will handle both of those things, because I am the account holder and Grandma's party is in 10 days, and I want it to be what she deserves. But I need you to understand the situation as it actually is." Silence. "What do you want?" she said. Her voice had a flatness to it that was the sound of something being absorbed. "Right now," I said, "I want the family's outstanding contribution, $2,700, in my account by Sunday. I want an acknowledgement, in the group chat, that the planning for this event has been coordinated and substantially funded by me. And I want to be at the party." Silence again. "That's all," she said. "That's all," I said. "Grandma's 80th is not the place for anything larger than that." I heard her breath. "Okay," she said. I'll talk to the family." "Thank you," I said. I ended the call. I sat in the parking garage for a moment with the engine off. Then I went back upstairs and finished my afternoon. What happened over the next 72 hours was the consequence cascade that Rosaria had authored, and I want to be specific about how it assembled itself, because she built every piece of it, and I simply declined to dismantle it for her. Friday afternoon, Rosaria called an emergency family call. I know this because Gina texted me during it. They're talking about the deposits. There's a lot of silence. And because my cousin Marco called me afterward, clearly deputized to report back, and told me the family had not known about the deposits. That the assumption had been that the venues and vendors were billing the family directly, that Rosaria was managing the money, and that my role had been coordination, logistics, communication, scheduling, rather than financial backing. What the call revealed, to the family assembled on it, was that the financial backing had been mine entirely since February, and that the family's $2,700 contribution was outstanding, and that the vendor accounts were not accessible to anyone other than me. Marco said on our call that there had been a long silence in the family call after this was explained. He said my Uncle Benedetto had asked Rosaria directly why she hadn't told people about the deposits. He said Rosaria had not had a clear answer. I thanked Marco for telling me. I told him I appreciated him calling. Saturday morning I received a bank transfer notification. The amount was $2,700 transferred from Rosaria's account in a single payment. No message accompanied the transfer. Saturday afternoon my phone rang. It was my Uncle Benedetto. He is a quiet man who has been married to my mother's sister for 31 years and who does not call unless he has something to say. He said he wanted me to know that he was sorry for what happened in the chat, that he had not been one of the 11 reactions. He had not been in the thread at all, which I confirmed was accurate, and that he thought what I had done for Nana's birthday over the years was something the family should have said out loud a long time ago. I said I appreciated the call. He said he would see me at the party. That was the whole conversation. Sunday morning, Rosaria posted a message in the family chat. It read, I want everyone to know that Teresa has been coordinating and substantially funding Grandma's birthday event since February. The deposits for the venue, florist, and catering have been on her card. I should have been clearer about this from the beginning, and I wasn't. Teresa, thank you. I read the message. I did not reply immediately. I let it sit for 2 hours. Then I typed, thank you. See everyone Saturday. I paid the venue balance Monday morning. I confirmed the final head count with the caterer Monday afternoon. The number was 61. Nana Ida's 80th birthday party was on a Saturday in late June, at a garden venue with white linen tables and ranunculus centerpieces, and a slideshow that ran on a loop between the cocktail hour and the seated dinner. 61 people came. My grandmother arrived in a blue dress she had bought specifically for the occasion, and she stood at the entrance for a moment, taking in the room, and she put her hand on my arm and said, Teresa, this is beautiful. I said it was my pleasure. I meant it entirely. The party ran for 4 hours. The caterer was precise, and the food was good, and the florist's arrangements were everything I had hoped for. My grandmother danced twice, once with my Uncle Benedetto, and once with a neighbor who had known her since 1987. The slideshow produced a reaction that I had anticipated and worked for, a specific quality of quiet in the room when certain photographs appeared, the kind of quiet that means people are feeling something they didn't expect to feel. Rosaria and I were civil throughout the afternoon. She thanked me again near the end of the evening, privately, in the kitchen where I had gone to check on the dessert timing. She said she had been wrong about the chat. I said I appreciated her saying so. We stood in the kitchen for a moment in a silence that was not comfortable but was honest, and then the caterer came in with a question about the cake, and we both moved back into the room. It is now 7 months since the party. I want to tell you what has and hasn't changed, because I think the honest version is more useful than the tidy one. What has changed? The family's understanding of my role. Not just at Nana's birthday, at everything. My cousin Marco told me in August that a conversation had happened at a smaller family gathering that I hadn't attended, where someone had asked who was going to coordinate Christmas, and my Uncle Benedetto had said, well, if Teresa is doing it, we should make sure she's actually compensated. I was not in the room, but I heard about it. That sentence, if Teresa is doing it, we should make sure she's actually compensated, represents a change in how I am understood that 6 years of good work had not produced, and that one Friday morning phone call had. What has also changed, I no longer perform an invisibility that costs me things. I coordinate when I choose to coordinate. I am transparent about what I am paying and what I expect in return. These are not dramatic changes. They are structural ones, and structural changes are the kind that hold. What hasn't changed? Rosaria. She is who she is, a woman who manages family through centrality, who is most comfortable when she is the person others consult, and who found it genuinely difficult to exist in a room where I had more operational authority than she did. I understand this about her now in a way I didn't before. Understanding it doesn't make it easy, but it makes it legible, and legible things can be navigated. Nana Ida called me on my birthday in September and said, without preamble, that she wanted me to know she saw everything I did. Not just the party. Everything. She said she had always seen it. I held the phone and listened to her voice, and I said, I know you have, Nana. That was the moment the story ended for me. Not the Friday call. Not the bank transfer. Not Rosaria's message in the chat. The moment Nana said she saw it. Everything else was logistics. What I want to leave you with is this. The person who holds the account number is not always the person anyone thinks to thank. Sometimes that's fine. The work is its own satisfaction, and the outcomes speak without your name on them. But sometimes the gap between what you are doing and what people believe you are doing grows large enough that someone can take a vote to exclude you from a room you are single-handedly keeping lit. When that happens, it is not a betrayal of your generosity. It is information. It tells you exactly what your invisibility has cost, and it gives you the choice, maybe for the first time clearly, about whether you want to keep paying that price. Before I go, I want to ask you something I've been thinking about since the day of the party. There was a moment, about an hour in, when Rosaria and I were both standing near the entrance watching my grandmother talk to her neighbor on the small dance area we'd set up near the back of the garden. We weren't talking to each other. We were both just watching Nana. And for maybe 30 seconds, we were simply two people who both loved the same woman, standing in a room that was exactly what it was supposed to be. My question for you is, in that 30 seconds, two people who had just been through something real, standing in the room one of them had paid for and the other had tried to take away, what should the first person to speak have said? And who do you think should have spoken first? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. If this story stayed with you, subscribe. There's a new story here every week. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. And if you know someone who has been the account holder in a family that never checked whose name was on the card, share this with them. I'll see you next time.